Okay, let's take a look at my first flush system that I've settled on. This is 4-inch PVC piping, and these are 3 feet long. Okay? So I'm going to come down from the eave drop. At first, up at the top, I'm going to have a leaf eater. It's sitting here. I've already bought it. And it'll catch leaves and stuff like that and throw them out. So then it comes down here into an elbow, 4-inch elbow. And then it comes into a T, and then we come into a 4-inch 3-foot pipe. Down at the bottom, this screws on, which has a little faucet type of thing that I can set how fast or what it does to drip, is what I can do. So the water rises, and it goes to the next one down this T, which again is 3 feet long. Water rises again, and it comes into this one. Now this one's interesting. You'll notice the clear PVC, and you'll notice there's a ball there. This is a kit you buy from Rain Harvest, I think it is. Runs almost $100 is what you're into. And in that kit, it comes with the top. So that way when the ball rises, it seats properly and doesn't shut off the water here. And then down here, it comes with the equipment to allow it to drip. Ignore this pipe at the bottom and ignore this pipe on the side because ChatGPT just wouldn't draw it the way I wanted. But this is how it goes. The pipe's actually going to come out of here, and then 90, and then it's going to go down into the tote. Now, it doesn't come with the clear plastic. You can choose to use the white PVC, or you can choose to use a clear plastic. I did look it up. A 3-foot piece of clear plastic to see the ball rise is almost $80. So it's quite expensive for that little toy. You see that. It serves 2 purposes. One, it looks cool. 2, it allows me to see how dirty the water is before it enters the system. Is what that does. Now, another thing to consider if you use the clear plastic, it might sit for about 3 years and then it starts to yellow because of the sun from the UV light. A way around that is to put a canvas tarp up and when you're not using it, and then you're probably good for about 10 years just to cover up from the sun looking at. Another possible option is put a painter tape down the plastic and then paint the rest. Not what I would do. But these are just some options. And of course, a better option is just use the, white PVC pipe. Is all there is to it. And it would be a cheaper route to go. Because a white PVC pipe 20 feet long is almost $100. And you figure if you went 369, well, 10 feet of it would be gone. You've only got 10 feet left, so then you got this little section here and going up. It might not be enough. But if I go this route, because I like it better, I'm only using 6 feet here. So then the rest that I have left from that 20-foot piece, I can go across here and up. Now, at Ace Hardware, I can buy pieces in 5 feet, 10 feet, and 20 feet is what I can do. And most of my piping or whatever I can, I'm going to buy from Ace in my town, which is less than, a couple blocks away, maybe 10 blocks away. So I can get a 20-foot piece, put it on my truck, and come home crawling and not be really stressed out about anything. And that's kind of nice. But the clear plastic is not cheap. You're running almost $80 for 3 feet. It's probably, extra $50, $70 compared to if I went the other way and I went all white PVC. I think this is cool to see. So I'm going to lean toward this more. So again, this is all 4-inch because I want to hold more water. And the idea of a first flush is because when the water comes off the roof, I got a leaf catcher that's above it. And then that gets rid of leaves and some big debris. Then it's coming down into here, and you've got bird crap, you've got insects. You've got just all kinds of dirt coming off the roof, and that's why they call it a first flush. The dirt and everything goes inside this pipe, and all the big stuff, sits in here. And then as the water comes up, anything it missed, because some dirt may again transfer over to number 2, and then we fill this up and put a little bit more dirt in there. And then, of course, it comes over to the third one. And this kit is kind of cool. Now, you don't need to buy a kit. You could turn around at the top here, run a 4-inch pipe still. I could drill a tiny, tiny hole in the side, run a wire through it, throw some silicone on it, and then at the bottom, buy a ball off Walmart or someplace for 10 or 20 bucks, push the ball in there, and then put it in. And it'll do the same thing if you want to go cheaper. But I'm going to buy the kit, which costs $100. Like I said, comes at the top, comes with the bottom, comes with the ball. Then I'm going to add the clear PVC, which is around $80 for 3 feet, to complete the system so I can see what's inside. Now, the pipe ain't going to come out here. It comes out of the top, and it comes down to the tote. There will be no pipe in the bottom. This was just to give me an idea how the system would look and how I'm actually running it with what I'm thinking about doing. Now, I'm 99.9% sure about doing it this way. It was funny when I was talking to the wife and she started doing it in her head. She says, that's 3 feet and it's almost $80, but you can buy a 20-foot piece of the white PVC and it's the same price. Isn't that kind of expensive? I say, yeah, but it doesn't look as cool. Now, this is not going to stay white PVC. Okay, this is all going to be painted. And it's to protect it from UV is the whole idea of this. And that's the idea with this system. All white pipe is going to be painted. So you have to consider that cost too. Okay, let's take a look at the final system. Now, my system, when I start this, is going to be a 3-tote system. This is future proofing. Now, I will have 4 totes in the long run, and I'll explain why. But in the beginning of the video, I showed you the first flush system where it has the clear tube, which is approximately about $300, $400 to do. Then I have to put my eave troughing in yet. That's going to be probably $250, so you figure this is $500 here. Now, I do have my screens for air coming in that is ordered. Each one was $13 and they're 1 inch. But you need to buy a 90 and you need 1 inch to actually put them together. The 90 originally was on Amazon for about 13 bucks. Somebody was getting rich. So then I went and looked on Ace's website and seen them there. So I ran down to Ace, which ain't far away, and I bought 6 90s. And I think they were like 22 bucks for 6. So I've got these sitting on my desk right now. These screens that I'm buying are like $13 each. So 13 times 6, because I did buy 6. I could just buy 3 and then buy the other 3 later. But I've actually bought things in the past with my old age, and you go to buy the item again and it's no longer in stock, and you're waiting for it to come in stock and you don't know if it's ever going to be in stock. And then you're trying to do something else. But I don't want to do that, so I'm going to buy 6 right off the bat, so it's sitting in a box for when I do expand. This is already ordered. This is coming in Saturday. This is a 1-inch filter system that sits down here about 3/4 of a way. The 1 inch comes up and then drill a hole inside and it goes in the house. The reason I want this tote here is because it's closest to the wall, which is less piping going into the bathroom for when I run a 100 micron, a pump, and then I break off into a PEX into the toilet and a PEX to the wash machine when I get to that part. Now, I also bought a 2-inch stainless steel filter here, which is going to go over to the flush system, which goes on the bottom. which is going to prevent the mice or anything from getting inside. This is a completely sealed system. So I control everything that's going on. Now, a lot of people take the lid here and punch out the 2-inch hole in the middle and put a screen on it and just let the water pour in. That's not what I'm doing. I want the whole system contained. I want to know what's going on. And the whole idea of the first part of the video, we're seeing the first flush system. I can see what's going on with that clear plastic pipe and see how clean my water is when it starts to enter the system. So there is a little bit more money spent in certain areas, but there's a method to my madness, is what there is. So in the long run, it will be a 6-tote system. I don't know how much the manifold is, this yellow pipe, what that's going to cost. That's 3-inch pipe. And you order them in 20-foot lengths. So I think I might need 2. I don't know. So that might be $150. And then you buy your fittings and everything. But, you know, it's funny. When I put a fence in my front yard, you had to buy all these little fittings. And I felt like I'm being nickeled and dimed to death by the time you're done. PVC pipe feels the same way. But this is what I settled on. But at first we're going to run 3 totes. And I had to buy 2 lids because my lids were rotted. And then after I get the 3 totes hooked up, well, we're going to put the 3 totes in place. I'll give you a video of that. I've almost got my concrete pad clean. And I need to rip my porch out yet too. It's all rotted. It seems like when you start a job, you end up going into all these other jobs. So once I get that in place, I don't know, I'll buy, probably next month, I'll buy the eave troughing. I don't want to be out there in the heat. It's really hot here in Tennessee. And humid is what it is. So I'll buy that probably next month, and then I'll be into September. We'll start cooling off a little bit. And then I'll put the eave troughs in and get that done. Now, once the eave trough's done, probably October, I'll run my flush system that I'm going to put together and run that in. So the 3 totes will have the water actually entering the totes. It will have the air intakes and outtakes already put into that. It will have the overflow in. And we probably will have the manifold down here. I'll probably cap it over here, so that way it'll run the 3-tote system. Now over here, I'll probably run a hose connection, fill up pails, whatever. And probably where you turn it and just clean the system right out. So basically, these I open wide open, the valves on the totes. Down here, I turn a valve and just empty the whole system out, is what I do. Because by the time I get this completed, it might even be November by the time I get to it. Which means it may be, you know, I'm just dumping the water out of it and then just waiting until springtime before I activate it again. Well, during this time, you know, I could buy number 4 tote and number 5 and number 6 and prepare it for the spring. So this ain't something getting done right away. And this is how I do things. Okay, even when I built the bunker, if you haven't seen that video, go check that out. But when I build things, I build it a little bit at a time. I'm in no hurry. Like, I don't go crazy. I don't put it on my credit cards. I don't go do a bank loan. I mean, I could do this thing in 2 weeks, just go down and take a bank loan. But that's not what I do. As money comes in from me working, I do a little section. And then I do another little section. Like, I got $200 sitting in my cart right now where I have these air filters. I have 6 of them. I have 6 90s I already bought at Ace sitting on my desk here. This 1-inch stainless steel filter that goes in tote 4 is already here. It's sitting over here on my desk. I'm going to buy another one of these, a 2-inch filter, which is going to sit on the outflow, which is being ordered this week. And that's my $200. And I bought 2 lids. So that way the tanks can be cleaned and I can put the lids on and prevent them from getting any dirtier. You know, so in the meantime, I'll be cleaning the totes out and give them a good rinse and then put the lids on, set them on the concrete pad, and have a look at them. I'll actually do a video of that because the pad's almost clean. And I'll take one tote and put it across from the other so you can see how much room I have between my totes. But ideally, when I first do this, we're going to have a 3-tote system. And then by springtime, it'll be 6 totes. So that's the important part. Now, somebody mentioned, his system froze and then he never did it again. And that's sad because he gave up. Now, to make this winterproof, and you have to understand in Tennessee, we only get single-digit temperatures for 2 or 3 days, and then we're back up in the high 50s. Winter time's mostly 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius. So if I winterize it, what I would do is I would build a box around this manifold system. And, line it with some thick foam. And then I'd run the heat tape around it. And then you buy these, they look like pool noodles, but they're not. It's a thicker foam because it's a 3-inch system. So then you put that around it. Now, that'll keep the pipes warm. And it'll keep the pipes from breaking. You could stop there. Okay? But then you could go with a small heater, which is about $50 to put in the box. And then a thermostat control system to plug it into, so you can set your thermostat to come on, at 0 degrees or at 32 Fahrenheit. And then after 5 degrees up, it shuts off. So it's not costing you crazy amount of power. So now you're heating the outside of the pipe and you got heat tape. But let's say you're really cold. Let's say you're Minnesota cold. Okay? Ideally, it'd be better off to put it in a building. But let's say you can't afford that. So in the old days, when I had horses, when I was young, and I used to break them, believe it or not, I called them horse heaters. But it was a heater that floated inside the water tank, is what it did. And it would prevent the water from freezing. And we get down to minus 40 below in Minnesota. And that's where I used to live. And the horses could get a drink anytime. Well, you buy one of those, which is $50, you put in number 1. You buy another one, which you would put in number 6. So $100, your heat tape, your foam, enclosed box, heater unit, and a temperature gauge thing you plug it into to go with. Now, if that's not enough, and I was in Minnesota where it's minus 40 for long periods of time, not just 1 or 2 days, I would then install a pump inside the box. So I would be circulating the water from 1 to 6. So I'd be pushing that water through that pipe. So the pipe is heated, the inside of the box is heated. I got 2 horse heaters, and now the water's being heated and the water's being moved. It doesn't have to be heated to 80 degrees. It just has to be heated above 0, and it just has to be moving a little bit to prevent it from freezing. And that's the way I would go with that idea if I was like in Minnesota. Now, your other choice is what I'm going to do for the first year here is I put a valve down here and I just put a switch that switches from the rainwater to city water. Okay, that's it. And then I open this up, open the tote, and dump all the water. And just leave it for 3 months. And then when springtime comes, shut the valve, and now fill it up with water. When the totes are full, switch back over to the rainwater, and now I've taken my bill from, 150 down to 50. You have choices if you think about how you're going to do this, and you give it a lot of thought. I could turn around and dump the whole system, wait the 2 or 3 days when we have our cold snap. I think last year we had one for 5 days, and once that passes, we're back up to our normal weather. Close everything up again and allow it to fill up. Once the totes are filled up, switch over again. So then I'm only using city water for like a week is what I'm doing. So I put a lot of work into thinking about how I'm going to lay this out. And I've sat in chat GPT for a long time, drawing images, having it do just to get this image here with the filter inside, to get this image to look how I want. I've got probably 42 pages printed out on my desk is what I have on all these different setups I was thinking about doing and how I was going to do it, before I actually go ahead and do it. So will it be done before this winter's done? No, not at all. Not at all. I'll have the 3 totes are already there. I'll have these air intakes in. I'll have the overflow put in, and I'll have the eave trough in, and I'll have my first flush system in. And then from there, I don't know, is what I'll have. But I always do things in sections all the time because I want to pay cash. I don't want to pay, and I also want to go camping. When wintertime comes, when September comes, that's when I like to go camping because the heat in Tennessee is crazy. I don't think that'd be healthy for me at 62. But I prefer, and especially for my dogs. I mean, when my dogs are sitting there breathing to death at 100, 110 degrees Fahrenheit, it just ain't no fun. So I do want to go camping when the wintertime comes. But this will be an ongoing project until I finally get to springtime. But I think it'll be completed with the 6 totes by spring, is what I think I'll have it done. And I don't know if it'll be winterized. Maybe through the summer it will be, and I'll start adding to it. And you can make this solar. Okay, you can take it to the point of finally doing solar. Cost you another couple $100. I mean, you're talking a fairly big panel. You're talking a couple batteries, because the batteries are running the pump, right? Is what you're running. That's where the electricity comes in. The pump doesn't use very much electricity, though. But if you're scared the grid goes down and you want to make sure it's always working, you could do that as the final product. And if you were living off grid and you had no electricity, then you would go that route. But I'm looking at just offsetting my water bill. My water bill runs anywhere between $100 and $150 every month. And I'm thinking, man, if I could take that down $100, that would be nice. Especially with the cost of food and everything now. So yes, it's going to cost a little bit of money, $1,000 or whatever, to put the system in. But once it's in and working, okay, you're talking $100 savings every month on my water bill. Because it's going to run the washer and the toilet. And it's going to run the water outside. So my water bill is going to go down to $50. What do you think? That's $100 savings. So after 10 months, the $1,000 I've spent, basically the money I spent on water went into the system. So in a way, I'm getting the system done for free. And then after 10 months, well, now after that, I'm saving money. So now that money goes into groceries or something else, right? So it just makes sense to do this system. In the long run, it just makes perfect sense. Now, it also makes sense to winterize it. I may just need to buy a round horse heater for $50 to put in one, and one in number 6 for $100, and I may be good for Tennessee. I don't know. Put some heat tape on this manifold, the yellow pipe, and foam, and that's it. And I will test that and see if that's good enough when we get down to single digits, because it only happens for a day or two. My other choice is I shut off the valves on the totes. I turn a valve here and I empty the manifold itself. And I just don't use any water for 2 days out of this system. I go on the house, I switch to city water, and I'm using city water for 2 days until it warms up again. And then when it warms up, shut this off, open these up, and then we're back to the rainwater. So now, instead of saving $100, I may save $80. So there's a lot of options you can consider when you're doing something like this, but don't make it a big job where you do it all at the same time, or take a bank loan, or put it on your credit cards. No, I'm not doing that. Like I spent $200 the other day on a bunch of parts. And some of the parts are for a 6-tote system, but I'm not running 6 totes. I'm running 3. They'll go in a box until I finally get around to getting those totes. I'm in no hurry. It's not something I got to do instantly. I do want the whole system working by spring, but you set yourself goals to finally try to get there. And you got to understand, I'm in a small town. I'm not in the country here. I'm in a small town, like 1,200 people here. I mean, I just want a complete working system. Now, we've had it here where Hasn't happened in my town, but one town over, we had it where their water went down because of some piping system, and they said that they had to boil the water, and that went on for almost a month. So do you want to trust that water coming out of that tap if you got to boil that water? I don't. I would rather trust my system, where I can take the water out of my system and then boil it. A little bit of an inconvenience, but I know who made my water and how my water's made and how it was filtered. I'm not trusting nobody. And that's very important. For what this costs to set up, it's just worth doing. It saves you money. You control the water. You can do this slowly, piece by piece. Just don't be in a hurry. And you don't have to go in the hole to do it. So, and as I go through the steps, I'll show you videos what doing it step by step and what I'm doing. And I'll catch you on the next one.